Two main events changed the course of history on Sandinar. The first was the discovery of the field, an area of force that surrounds naturally occurring nodes throughout this world. The second was the opening of the void, a dark, foreboding place from which emerged the Lyrinx. When it comes to the field, early pioneers discovered that they could visualize and manipulate it using devices like the plants. But there are risks to those who enter the field. Risks such as delusions and even crystal fever. Ailments that can lead to the total destruction of the mind. Caution is required. So even after centuries of researching the field, it still holds mysteries. And one such mystery is whether these delusions could be something else. Iris persistently asks Nish to wake up. Struggling to open his eyes, he sees her holding a broken controller. He asks her what happened, and she cries out to him that Tian did this. Nish doesn't believe it, and he tells her as much. But she's persistent and uses every tool in her arsenal against him, including emotional blackmail. He compromises and decides to confront Tian with her. The guards in the manufactory confirmed that Tian went towards the mine. Teresis is quick to add that the reason Tian goes down there often is because she's selling secrets to the enemy down there. Unbeknown to Tian, she was being followed by these two as she made her way to Zhou's home. Once Zhou and Tian were on their way to the mine, they snuck into the hut. Searching the place, they found a piece of paper with Tian's handwriting. It contained the plans for the controller she was making. Iris was sure that these were the secrets she was selling to the enemy, and so they both decided to report this to the overseer. Nish reported his findings to Overseer Gihad, but just like everyone else in the manufactory, he didn't believe it. Tian may not have close friends here, but everyone likes and respects her. Well, apart from Iris and Nish, he asks Nish to really think about who else could be responsible for the damaged controller. And although Nish doesn't reply, he knows that it's Iris. Once back in Tian's office, Nish sits down on a chair, mentally exhausted. Iris happily walks in, and her smile very quickly vanishes as Nish glares at her. The man is dripping with rage as he accuses her of lying to him. He knows she's trying to manipulate him, and it angers him greatly. She tries to deny it at first, but that didn't work. She then tried appealing to his emotion, then threats, and finally seduction. None of it worked, and she eventually admitted to trying to incriminate Tian by cutting the piece of paper from a book. But she denies having anything to do with the damaged controller. Nish believes that she didn't damage her own controller. After all, no sane artisan would do such a thing to themselves. But he warns her that he'll have to inform the overseer of her attempts to incriminate Tian. Fear grips Iris. Although the overseer is her cousin, the matter was serious enough for those ties to mean nothing, and the penalty was most likely death. She pleads with Nish as she slowly and seductively moves towards him. Her words are like honey, and the sight of her body even sweeter. He gives in. Upon returning from the mine with the crystal that she and Zhou had found, Tian was informed that the overseer wanted to see her in his office. Once in his office, Gihad throws the broken controller on the table, informing Tian that she's being accused of doing this. She's shocked and assures the overseer that even though she may not like Iris, she would never do such a thing. The overseer asks if she thinks Iris did this herself, but Tian doesn't think so. He then tells Tian that she better find out who did, because all eyes are on her. And if Nish's father, the Perquisitor, finds out about this, going to the breeding factory will be the least of her worries. Tian suddenly remembers the last conversation she had with Nish and the way she had spoken to him. Dealing with Iris was already annoying at the very least. Now she had another enemy, and one with a powerful father as well. Now she was really worried. Once back at her desk, Tian worked hard at creating the probe for her investigation of the 40 Hedron. As she toils away, Iris walks in asking Tian about her progress. Each word spoken between the two is like a missile designed to harm. Iris puts on the probe, and as she mockingly tells Tian that it doesn't work, she suddenly screams out in agony. She yanks off the controller and throws it down on the table while looking cross-eyed and very unstable on her feet. Tian rushes to help her, but Iris slaps her across the face, screaming that Tian did that on purpose, which she didn't. She soon leaves Tian's office, but not before hurling insults at her first, of course. Before Tian knew it, it was nighttime. She jumped in between the cold sheets and tried to get some sleep after such a terrible day. She had a bit of a headache due to her constant use of the field, and as she slept, she dreamt. Or maybe she was hallucinating. She hears the explosions of multiple volcanoes in this vast land. Her view then shifts to a young, handsome man staring out in sadness. He calls out to her for help, but before the sound of his voice reaches her, she wakes up. She had a faint memory of a dream, and she could almost remember the smell of the volcanic sulfur. Halfway through the day, she was visited by both the overseer and the foreman who were checking up on her progress. Despite how hard she was trying, she hadn't made any discoveries yet, and as they both expressed their displeasure at this, she almost fainted. Qian was spending far too much time in the field and drawing too much power. The overseer noticed this. She regained her composure and had a plan. Very quickly, she experimented with different materials on a device, and soon enough, she had reached a conclusion. The Hedron crystals were being sabotaged, but she didn't know by whom. Yet, Tian states that she'll need a larger crystal for it, and Gihak tells her to make haste with her investigation. Noticing that she's struggling, he tells her to recruit someone else so they can work on the crystal at intervals, but she tells him that no one else can do it, as even Iris tried yesterday and was hurt by it. He writes her an authorization note for her to take to the apothec for medication, and then the two men left. The apothec gave her a balm to use on her forehead for the headaches she was getting, and as she made her way back to her office, she asked her fellow artisans if they had seen Iris, and one of them said she had seen Iris coming out of Tian's office a while ago. As Tian walked towards her desk, she realized that the device she was using had been bent out of shape, and the crystal was cracked. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully you're enjoying the story so far. If so, please like, subscribe, and leave any comments or suggestions you have below. And I'll see you all on the next one.